right. Well, without further ado, let's get this party started. So we're going to continue on with explaining the Project 2025, a blueprint created by the Heritage Foundation to doesn't really matter what president is in office, who happens to be in office by 2025, as long as it's a Republican and as long as this Republican will follow this literal blueprint.
Mandated leadership. Yep.
Yeah. So we're going to move on to 3 or 4. I forgot which one we add, but it's now getting rid of government agencies.
Yeah, it's bleak. Let's get into it. By far the scariest aspect of the policy, and the one getting the most critical commentary, is the absolutist commitment to gutting the administrative state and concentrating power into the hands of the president. The administrative state is sometimes called the fourth branch of government, and there have been debates for centuries as to whether it's constitutional. You know, all those agencies like the EPA, Social Security Agency, HUD, FEMA, the Fed, the Department of Homeland Security? Yeah, all those governmental bodies that manage the administration of day-to-day operations of the country and promulgate regulations for everything from transportation to healthcare to food to clean water. That's the administrative state. It's not technically in the Constitution, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's not constitutional. And listen, most law students take an admin law class, and I can tell you right now that shit is dry. I barely could keep my eyes open during that class, so I won't bore you with too much detail, but this issue does take on a new and much more important meaning when you learn what Project 2025 wants to do about it. So here's some Admin Law 101. Admin law governs the structure, decision processes, and behavior of administrative agencies. Those agencies are created by statute, executive order, or by state constitutions. Admin agencies are also referred to as commissions, boards, authorities, bureaus, offices, departments, divisions, etc. They're created by executive order, meaning when the president says so, or by Congress. Say Congress passes a law saying something is illegal. In that same law, they might say, we also create this new agency, and this agency is tasked with overseeing and implementing this law. For example, the Federal Food and Drug Administration was created by the Pure Food and Drugs Act of 1906 to oversee the implementation of that law. The main functions of administrative agencies are to investigate, make rules, and adjudicate. That's why there's administrative law courts. They're not state or federal courts, they're separate, less formal courts where agencies can conduct hearings and enforce the regulations that they write and promote. Those admin law rulings can be appealed up to state and federal courts, but most of the day-to-day workings of administrative agencies happen within the agencies and their courts. That doesn't mean, however, that there is zero oversight of these agencies. Like I said, rulings in the admin law courts can be appealed to state and federal courts. Congress can pass laws like the Administrative Procedure Act to rein in administrative agencies, and Congress also still controls the purse strings.
Okay, so before we get into it, that's just a blueprint of what they're talking about. State agencies.
Foundation, yeah.
So that's just the foundation. Now let's go to the next video and find out why they want to get rid of them.
The foreword in Project 2025's policy manifesto lays out their objections to the current state of affairs. Congress passes intentionally vague laws that delegate decision-making over a given issue to a federal agency. That agency's bureaucrats, not just unelected but seemingly unfireable, then leap at the chance to fill the vacuum created by Congress's preening cowardice. The federal government is growing larger and less constitutionally accountable, even to the president, every year. Okay, so they're saying there's too many bureaucrats, Democrats, and the president doesn't have enough power. It continues. The conservative promise lays out how to fire supposedly unfireable federal bureaucrats, how to shutter wasteful and corrupt bureaus and offices, how to muzzle woke propaganda at every level of government, how to restore the American people's constitutional authority over the administrative state, and how to save untold taxpayer dollars in the process. So they're basically Ron Swansoning the government, attempting to put people in places of power to dismantle federal agencies from the inside. Except it's not a fun joke about a lovable libertarian with a mustache. It has far-reaching consequences that are made all the more dire when you learn about the unitary executive theory, the theory upon which many of the Project 2025 recommendations rely.
So,
And let's be straight, Congress does make a lot of stupid laws.
yeah, they do. Far more than we can actually talk about on this show.
Well, see, Congress makes laws that are sometimes stupid, sometimes corrupt, but more often than not, they don't really make very many laws, really.
Not anymore.
At least not in recent history. And many of these bureaus came into place because Congress refused to act. So the president puts out an executive order or something of that nature, and something has to be stood up to actually enforce and follow through. It first of all, it's about time to leave the country, y'all. But the thing about this thing here, the whole administrative state thing, it's all heading back to the fact that they want a Führer. Democracy was fine when it wasn't democracy. It was actually autocracy, but it had a veneer of democracy. And once democracy started acting more like democracy, then those who are historically in power no longer want it. You know, because it's great to have democracy where every voice gets a vote when you control who gets to have a voice. If you can control who gets to have a voice, you don't care if every voice has a vote. And now the conservative mindset, instead of being a check on the liberal mindset, it's just completely overpowered by the numbers because the conservative mindset is so insular now. And they're like, well, screw it. Let's get rid of democracy. So what do we need in this place? We want something like Putin has. That's why they switched so hard from hating Putin to loving Putin. Yeah. Because in Putin's world, the wealthy people owe their wealth to Putin. There is no corruption unless it's against Putin. So if you're on the side that Putin likes, then you're going to get rich and you're going to have power and you're going to be comfortable. And they're like, well, that side looks like me, so I'm all for it. And if it gets out of control, then they'll fight another war and they'll try to push it back the other direction. They're not really thinking it through from that standpoint. It's all about the power. And the great thing about it for them is the people that they're up against, us, are so addicted to rules and afraid of conflict, we'll let them do it.